Good afternoon, sticky lunchers. He says, I forgot to hit slideshow. There we are, we're in. Welcome to today. It's Wednesday. Colin's in, Tim's in. You know what? It's an interesting thing that we see with our webinars and the sticky learning lunches, and how they often start really high with the volumes of people in on a Monday, and it kind of stays at, and then it dips down Wednesday and then comes back up for Thursday. It's a very peculiar pattern. I have no idea if this is just us and my content, or if this is the world over, especially COVID-19, but Wednesdays is always a quieter day. So what that means in terms of people that are attending, whether they're here now or whether, you know, or just about to arrive, is this will be a much more one-to-one. I'm looking backwards and forwards, just checking this, you know, whether there's questions coming in. Gareth, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Who else is coming in? Claire's with us as well. Thank you for being here again, Claire. Absolute pleasure. I was just saying, Wednesday's pattern of people attending tends to dip down quite significantly in comparison to other days. Monday and Tuesday is always really busy, like with lots of people. Wednesday dips right off, and then Thursday, Friday comes back up. Very strange kind of pattern of how things fall in GoToWebinar when we're delivering this content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this as individual as possible, so you have an absolute open book here, open opportunity to ask as many questions as you like about giving feedback. Okay, so I'm going to fly through some of the key content that we're going to look at today, but if you have specific questions about feedback that you want to deliver or a scenario, so let's make sure that we're not including names, or we're changing the names to protect the innocent, as we always need to in an open environment, and this will be shared on our YouTube channel. Any questions you've got for me about specific scenarios, specific cases, structuring, this is the time to do it, because there's a handful of us and we're going to make this really detailed and in-depth for you. Is everyone good with this, yes or no? Should hope the answer will be positive. Good, good, good. So I remember on the earlier sessions, I said a question, is there a feedback that you need to be giving to someone? Is there a piece of information that you need to be providing to someone to help them? Bear with me, I'm just working on microphones not working. Or I might be quieter than normal. There we go. Using new hardware. So having that person in mind, having that, you know, that piece of feedback that you want to deliver, have that in your head and have that ready to build this structure out. Everyone good? Everyone ready to go? I am. Finish my tea. Let's get everyone set up for success before we do anything. One is. So, mobile phones, hold them high. Let's light up that little aeroplane. Let's make sure we zero out the distraction, 100% attention on what we're doing here, making sure that you have a drink. So making sure that you're keeping yourself hydrated and your brain lubricated to make sure this learning sticks. And finally, as always, third key piece of information, fresh page, fresh thinking. Let's make sure that you've got something you can reread that's going to remind you and reignite that thinking as you go back to keep the thinking expanding. What are we covering? Day 3 of feedback. Day 1, well, let's do a super fast recap. Day one was all about them taking action. It's all about also, what else did we have down there? The difference between it being constructive and destructive. But that's all about the delivery. It's not about the content. There is no such thing as good or bad feedback. It's always a gift. And it's always what you think. What you think of someone is how you treat them, and what you think of a situation is what it becomes. Day 2. So yesterday, what do we have in here? Make it specific. So when we're thinking about that person and that feedback that we need to be giving, let's make sure it's specific about a thing, okay? It's also timely. It's being dealt with in the right way, or it's being parked so that it can support you in delivering that conversation later. And then the third part we started looking at was the SAID model. Everyone remember what they said? Everyone's scrabbling through their notes right now to have a look at what they are. Remember, it's the standard, the situation, and it's the distance or gap between them. It's the action we want to talk about, the impact, and a desired outcome. Flying recap. Everyone good? Everyone good with this, what we covered? Everyone remember what we've looked at day 1 and day 2, because it's important we understand this and we've got this in place as we start to go into the next stage. So the next stage as we move into this then is, as I've said before, no one likes being told what to do. Okay? No one in their right mind enjoys being told what to do unless it's them telling them to do it. Okay? As human beings, we're very strange creatures for some reason. I don't like being told what to do unless it's me telling me to do it, and that's okay. What's the difference? If it's good for me, then it should be okay for someone else to tell me what I need to do. When it comes to giving feedback, the idea is that we ask more questions, as I started breaking that down yesterday, to help that person come up with their own realizations and be able to take the responsibility for their own behaviors and what they need to do. And then it's them telling them, it's them making that decision. It's them then going, I'm going to do this instead, and going in a different direction. And when we go back over previous sessions and when we're looking at influencing skills, asking questions to help people understand the world in a better way is actually the key to influencing. You have no right to tell anyone what to do, and you remember me saying this, you have no right to tell anyone what to do. You can only do 2 things: be the example and be the invitation. What they want to do, that's up to them. When we're giving feedback, there is a time and a place to tell people what to do, and that's based on 2 things. Whether it's dangerous, I hope you can see the red on there, just about. The only time that you tell people what to do when you're giving feedback is if it's dangerous or urgent. Okay, so if you're working in a factory and they've got, whirring machines and blades and whatever, and you see someone mucking around with a meat slicer, and they haven't got the protective gloves on, or they're mucking around with a knife or doing whatever, or they're putting a screwdriver in a live socket, now is not the time to ask questions. Okay, that would be like getting to the end of an episode of 24 with Jack Bauer, for those of us that remember that. And he's sitting there with the bomb and it's ticking down and he's got 8 seconds left before the bomb's going to explode and wipe out the whole of New York City. And you come over and go, what wire do you think you would prefer to cut right now in this current situation? And before you've even got to the end of the question, half of the east coast of America has just been wiped out by a nuclear bomb. There is a time and a place for the questions. This is not it, okay? This is the time that you have to be super clear with people and super direct. You can still use the said model, and we're going to bring that back up on the board here. No, because we already know what the standard is. But if we sit there and discuss what the standard is with that person, they're likely to lose a finger. Right now, this thing, this sort of behavior, this action, this situation needs to stop. We need to have as soon as you stopped it, that stop, this needs to stop right now, this is dangerous. Okay, let's have a conversation about the actions. What's caused this current behavior? What's caused this current situation? What is it about this, these current actions is acceptable? So we're starting to question into this space here. So we're starting to, I need to have a conversation about the current choice of behavior. So we stop them about the current choice of behavior and what's the impact of that. So we jump in here. The impact is that if this continues to happen, someone may lose their finger. So which is why this has had to have stopped. We have 2 choices. The cost is if this continues to happen, the finger will be lost and potentially someone dies, because that can happen in factory environments. We wish it, we hope it doesn't. It can happen. The other option that we have, when we provide an alternative in our desired outcome here, the alternative is if this behavior changes and is amended to this or is changed in this way, this will be the benefit of that. As in, the work will get done, we'll meet quota, everyone goes home with all their bodily parts, and everything continues. And that's a very fast kind of example thrown out there. So in here we talk about, now we demonstrate the cost and also give an alternative option with the benefit. Hoping you can see that just. So when we're looking at the feedback in a critical situation or a level one, well, I say level one type of delivery, which is someone that may be new to the business, doesn't know, needs some more instruction, we can start to use a little bit more tell and a little bit more guidance. So when it's dangerous and urgent, stop people, tell them to stop. We need to have a conversation about this, immediately pull them away from the situation. Before I dive in that, has anyone had this sort of experience? Dealing with a dangerous or urgent situation where you've had to stop someone and give feedback in that moment, yes or no? Yes, got a couple of yeses coming in. So think about those examples and those moments and experiences you've got and start to think about how this model will then overlay in that and change the dynamic of that conversation, how it would change the structure. The first thing is we want to stop it. Stop that. That's not okay. So what we're actually doing is we are putting the standard in place. We're clearly setting out that that is not okay and it needs to stop. And you're telling them what you are stopping. So there's going to be a choice of behavior, an activity. Need to stop that behavior. We need to stop the action. So if you remember from yesterday, it was about the thing. We're not going to say, why are you doing this? Because the moment we start saying, why are you doing it, it's our emotions that are coming up and we're attempting to project that onto the individual. And then by doing that, we make the situation a motive. And it comes back to what you think of them and the situation that then fuels and charges that. So we stop them by clearly letting them know that the situation, the standard is not okay. We stop the choice of action or choice of behavior. We need to stop that behavior right now, or this behavior needs to stop. What is it? And then we start to look at this. What I observed is this. So I observed a choice of thinking. I observed this kind of behavior. I observed these interactions that is causing a potential risk. So I'm telling them what the actions are that I saw, because they may not realize what they're doing is dangerous. The impact of that is that if that behavior continues, someone may get hurt. It may break a machine. What's the impact? No, the impact to the customer is they may not get that product on time. The impact to the business means that actually someone gets hurt here and there is an investigation which then causes us to stop business and a lot of people potentially lose their jobs. So we're giving them our expertise and our clarity of what we can see. So we've ticked this, we've told them the actions we've seen, and we've told them what the impact is if that continues. Desired outcome, no, we talked about, if this continues, the cost of that will be X, Y, and Z, it's the impact. The alternative action is, if you change it to this action or this behavior, or this approach, the benefit of doing that will be X, Y, and Z. But, and I'll come back to that but in a second. Clear standard, clear understanding of the behavior. What are the actions that you've observed? I observed these actions. So it's all ownership. It's never secondhand. We never give secondhand feedback. That's not okay. Clearly demonstrate what the cost is and the impact of those actions on the customer, on the environment, on the job, on the business, on whatever it is. I'm telling that from my experience. I'm helping to give that person my insights. Desired outcome, I'm reiterating this again because it's important. You want to know, I've explained what the cost potentially is if that continues. the opposite, or the change of behavior looks like this, and this is the benefit of doing that. This is what it looks like for the team, for the business, for the product, for the environment. And the reason I said but earlier is then we come to this point where actually we have two options. We have the behavior carries on and something bad happens. We have the behavior changes to a suggested alternative, and we have a benefit out of that. So although I've gone into a very direct mode with my feedback here, I still have two options to give to this individual. And my question, and this is, super important and one that you need to get written down, which is going to support you in having these conversations, is based on those two pieces of information I've provided you, that I've given you, what would you like to do moving forward? What option would you like to take me up on based on this conversation? Can everyone see what I'm doing here? Does this make, I'm hoping this resonates with people with potentially feedback they've given, conversations they've had. By providing the two options, I'm still giving the individual an opportunity. I'm still letting them make a choice. I'm not telling them what to do. So although I've gone in initially and it's dangerous and urgent, and I've stopped that situation and kind of hopefully not equalised is the wrong, resolved that pending problem, I've then given it back to the individual and said, what would you like to do? What one of those two choices would you like? So I'm using a funneling question. So I've given clear information and data, and then I'm funneling the individual in to make a decision based on what they want to do. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And when we're working in dangerous environments or construction sites or production lines, whatever it might be, and we're doing this, then that, we need to stop people occasionally, especially if they don't know and they're not used to it. You give them the two options, and then the person says, and we let them calculate and make a logical decision on what's happening. And if the person, and this is an open question to everyone here, if the person says, do you know what, option A, that's the dangerous one, I'm going to carry on with option A, what's your next choice of action? If that person in your work environment says they're still going to carry on doing dangerous things, which might impact their lives and other people's lives, what are your next steps from there? I'll wait for those answers to come in, just while I have a final mouthful of tea. Steely silence. Take the decision away from them, protect them. Exactly this. This is our responsibility as a leader, especially working with individuals that don't know better. It's no different to having small children. With having small children, maybe they don't like having a bath. Maybe they don't like having their teeth brushed. Does it mean that they don't have a bath and don't get their teeth brushed? And it's the same with some of the people we work with. They just don't know because they've never. But if they want to make that choice, that's okay. That's up to them. We neutralize, that's the word I was looking for, we neutralize the problem and we remove them and put them into an environment where it is safe for them and others. Okay? When they suddenly turn around and say, well, actually, option B, that's okay, now I know, thanks for sharing that with me. I didn't realize that, apologies, I'm going to go with option B and carry on with that. Fantastic. By doing that, you've explained the standard to them. They're clear that those actions aren't okay. They know what the impact will be if they continue. They've gone with option B, and in doing that, what you've done is you've clearly stated the standard, so you know what's going to be expected next time. You know what the outcome, in theory, is going to be. And you also have an opportunity then to document that conversation if you need to go back to it and anchor it and say, okay, based on the conversation we had last time, in the next one, fantastic, I'm really glad that you took on board that feedback, you're doing X, Y, and Z, please carry on doing that, amazing. Or alternatively, they go back to it again or repeat it, you can say, we've had a conversation. So by going through this, we're super clear with what we're doing. Now, some people And it doesn't always have to be kind of, as forceful. It doesn't have to be an emergency. If that person doesn't know, they're new to the business, now it's going to be urgent to make sure they do know. So we're going, okay, let's have a conversation about the current workwear. Let's have a conversation about the choice of language. Let's have a conversation about how we're going to approach the future project. And we can start to set the standard, and we can start to, reshape and direct some of the behaviours and actions. Hope this is useful. We've got little children crossing the road to get the ball back. Exactly this. You see parents, and then they do it from the absolute place of love when that happens, and they scream absolute, blue murder. What's been useful so far? So from what we've covered today in this session, this is where it's 22 minutes, what have you picked up that's been useful for your feedback conversations to help them, get better results? Just wait for that to come in, and then we'll see what else we can add up. Even in an urgent situation, you can follow the model. Yes, absolutely. Important to provide options. Absolutely. It's too easy when we're giving feedback that, I know best. I've been here for ages. I'm just going to tell. But then what we end up doing is we make a rod for our own back. And what happens is that person will always wait to be told what to do. Oh, you didn't tell me what to do, so I did that. Yeah, but that was wrong. You could have used your initiative. I was waiting for you to tell me. And you take out the innovation and initiative of an individual because they're always waiting to be told. Understanding how to use a said structure, and this is just the first level. The use of said is a forceful way instead of tell, even though they don't want to be told. It has force, and we're going to cover that a little bit tomorrow as well. In a super clear way that I've used it in a very inhumane way. And I've been very direct, and I've used that in order to dismantle someone's argument, but also, it's very damaging to that relationship because I used it thoughtlessly and heartlessly. Because the power of this falls into the fact that it's the person who is deciding what they're going to do. It's their word, it's their decision, it's their options. It's not me tell, it's them telling them, which is what makes it so powerful. And when people can't follow through on the options they take, sometimes that isn't their fault. People can only see, hear, and act from the level of consciousness that they're at. And what that means is they may say it at an intellectual level, but they don't understand it at a kind of heart level, and they can't follow through on it. That doesn't give me any right, though, to take them apart with the next level of feedback that we provide. I hope this makes sense, and we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. So yes, even in dangerous and urgent, we've got a clear structure, and we can as we start to practice this, we can start to peg our conversation into it to make sure we tick each of the boxes. And when we get to the bottom, we still want to give them the option so they can decide what they want to do based on what they've heard. Okay, this is level 1. For newbies, for crisis situations, this is where we start with a little bit more instruction and a little bit more direction. What questions have you got for me about level 1 feedback delivery? What have we got here? How would you deliver feedback if you haven't seen the event take place firsthand? For example, you haven't seen the person be late, but you have been informed by someone else. Good question. 1, if you can get a printout to prove that they're late and you've got irrefutable facts, it's still you giving the feedback. That's, is 1, making sure you've got that information. 2 is, no, you can't give secondhand feedback. It's not okay. What you can do, though, is you can have an open, honest conversation with that individual and just say, you know what, I've received some feedback about this, and I'd like to know more about that. So what happened on Tuesday? And depending what work environment, you might even have CCTV. And you can even start to craft that. You know what, I'm aware of this, I happen to be looking at this and I noticed this. What's the expected time of arrival on a work day? And they'll say 9 o'clock, and they say, okay, great, fantastic. So what happened on Tuesday that caused the lateness? No, I haven't said you're late. I just said what's happened on Tuesday to cause the lateness. So we started to ask some questions to get some more information. And one would hope over the course of time that you build a rapport with your team that actually you can have that conversation if you need to, in such a way the person goes, you know what, yeah, I'm really sorry. Either they tell you and you build that in as part of the standard for next time, or they'll just go, yeah, it was, yeah, that's it. Good, hope that's useful. Open with it comes to my, explain some more, open with it comes to my attention. Opens with it comes to my attention. You might have to give some more clarity on that one, Colin. Any more questions coming in? We've got a couple more minutes. Second-hand feedback, yes. Yeah, second-hand feedback is a difficult thing because, again, it's that person's perception. I've fallen foul of this in my younger management years when someone said, I saw this, and that's out of order, and you need to do something about it, and that's not okay, blah, blah, blah. And then you go in and go, this person's just had a go at me, and they were having to do that, and now I'm having a go at you, and da-da-da-da, and the person goes, wasn't me. You know, I was doing this, this, and this, and you go, oh, I'm really sorry for shouting at you. And all you're doing is you're coming back into that hurt people scenario. This person's had a pop at me. My ego started to take a bashing because it's a member of my team, and I don't want to hear that, and I don't want to be having this conversation with this individual. I go and give them a hard time because I feel like they gave me a hard time, but actually what they saw isn't the truth. And as the leader of that individual, I now feel like a complete idiot for not actually going and doing my fact checking and having a conversation about it. I do when someone has raised a voice to a customer over the phone. Absolutely. You know, especially when you're in a contact center environment as well, is understanding actually you need to get both sides of the equation. Yes, there's a behavior here that kind of needs to be drawn the line on, but at the same time, it's just kind of, you have to get all the information. Now, why has, and what's the reason that the member of your team has raised their voice to the customer? A prime example, one of my team, who I'm still friends with now, I mean, he's having a real argument with the customer, and I'm sitting there looking at him like, what is going on? This is not okay. This needs to stop. And he's like, and I even said, stop. And he put his hand up in my face and went and ignored me. And I was like, what is going on? Blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, I was like, this is, you know, way too dynamic and not okay. Finishes the call, and I was like, what's going on? He's like, no, it was absolutely fine. I mean, the customer and I were, you know, having a great conversation. I was like, yeah, okay, no. Went back to listen to it, and yeah, they were having a really heated discussion. And okay, I had to give feedback about kind of the whole kind of shutting me down in the conversation, especially in the team environment. I went back and spoke to the customer, and I said, I'm really sorry about what's happened here. You know, I've listened to some of this, it's not okay, really concerned. And the guy said, no, that's absolutely fine. We're having a great conversation. Really enjoyed it. You know, love the honesty. Love the, you know. I was like, it doesn't make any sense. I still had a conversation with, you know, the member of my team to say, look, you know, at this level, at this volume, in this way, you know, this is the impact of that, and we need to look at how that's, you know, what's the impact on the team. You know, what's the thinking of those individuals that see that sort of behaviour is okay. So, you know, there's different elements, and making sure you have all the facts before you move forward in that. Fabian's coming in. My approach on second-hand feedback is that I bring the team value up and ensure that we discuss impact on them, also engagement and credibility. Yes. And sometimes what you see isn't the truth. Sometimes, you know, it's a snapshot. And again, perception is that person's reality. It's not actually reality. So what they see may have offended them for what, you know, in whatever terms. We're not talking about isms or equality or anything like that. They may have said something, you know, on an offhand tone to someone or whatever, or an action that may not have computed with their expectations. They then, you know, it's about understanding, okay, well, actually, let's make sure that we're supporting the people in our teams get that understanding so they continue to build their own profile, their own credibility, and their own brands in their work environments. And that's what we're encouraging here to understand. Hope this is useful. Hope you've all got, you know, looking at that structure, just going to wrap up now, looking at this structure and starting to think about that feedback that you need to deliver and you're going to deliver. where each of these elements or what questions and what points start to fit into this so that you can have that. What do we got here? Might be for tomorrow, receiving feedback. What if my map or perception of the situation event is different to theirs? What questions aid validation? How to make the choice to let it or let it pass. I know the said model may prevent this. Yes, some of that we'll cover tomorrow, and I'll make sure of that, Colin. I'm going to make sure I copy that and give myself a nudge to incorporate that. The last part, or the last answer I'm going to give on that, choose your battles. You know, and we will cover this tomorrow when we look at the checklist to make sure the reason why you're delivering the feedback. There's a 5-point checklist that you have to go through every single time. And if you don't, and you cannot tick every single one of those points, you do not give the feedback. Thanks for reminding me, Colin. Appreciated. Because, you know, when you go through that checklist, each one of those, and I'm giving you the preface for it, is basically checking your ego. Because if you're going there full of ego and emotion, you're not actually delivering feedback. You're just going in there to tell someone what you think of them. And what you think of them isn't the truth and isn't their reality, and you have no idea what's going on for them. Hope this is useful. Pick your battles. Good. Everyone, look, massive thanks for being here today. I know I did it again. I dived straight in with the information, as always. If you haven't signed up for tomorrow's session, I'm going to get the link in the chat box. Thanks, Sarah. Maybe we should just do these automatically, and just it will remind me to say it as we start these sessions. I might have thought about that, you know, 9 weeks ago when we did actually start this. If you have not signed up for tomorrow's session, if you know someone that would benefit from that, the link is there. Click on it. Make sure you're signed up. If you know someone else that would benefit from delivering feedback, the link is there. Share it with them. Get them involved. Get them inside as well. Okay. I've also put the screenshot up there of the leadership coaching card. If you haven't got your coaching cards, now is still the time to do it. £5, ridiculous amount of value on there. I think there's even a, you know, if you put a testimonial up, I think there's an option there to get a free pack at some point as well. So if you buy a pack, put a testimonial in, you get a free pack, which means you can go and give it to someone else in the business as well. The mind boggles, absolutely boggles. And as always, the final part is, how can I help? How can I help you help more people inside your business to get better results? There is the link for the virtual classrooms. If there is anything that you need as a business, if there's anything you need as an individual and you want to talk about coaching, you want to talk about virtual classrooms, let's have a conversation. Let's get me on a screen, in a room, whatever it looks like, to help you and your people be the best versions of themselves in the work that they're doing, okay? Phenomenal. Great share. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate this, and I will look forward to seeing you at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Many thanks.